In our previous videos about pedagogical creativity, we talked about different learning styles and different multiple, the multiple intelligence theory. And it always struck me that most people learn through a combination of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic inputs. And of course, we typically say that you have dominant learning styles, like I mostly learn by listening, or I mostly learn by doing, or I mostly learn by watching. But in our churches, we kind of mix and match the auditory and the visual. We got screens. There's, of course, stuff to watch. Somebody's there. There's people to look at. You're hearing stuff. But we almost never do anything that allows people to get up and act and move. So that's why we say worship ought to be kinesthetic. Let them get up. One of my favorite examples, and there's a bunch, so maybe I'll give you one or two, but one of my favorite examples was in a series we did on the book of Ecclesiastes. And so we printed out the book of Ecclesiastes on transparency sheets, and we created a huge light table down the center of our church. It was about 20 feet long and 10 feet wide, and the whole book of Ecclesiastes was on it, and like this kind of giant table. And then we gave everybody markers, tiny little Sharpie markers as they came in the church, and we invited them to write their own notes and prayers and comments on the book of Ecclesiastes while I was preaching about it. So the whole time, for whatever it was, 8-10 weeks that we're talking through Ecclesiastes, people would get up in the middle of my talk and write down an insight on the giant backlit book of Ecclesiastes. And so it became this living commentary, this kind of midrash. But the point was that they had something to do. Now, it took some guts to do it, and it was a little bit weird sometimes for somebody, because if they felt like they were being distracting, but the net result was totally worth the discomfort. Another time we put a series of icons along the back walls of our church, and each of the icons represented sort of matching incidents from the First Testament and the Second Testament. So from new creation in Genesis 1, or pardon me, from creation in Genesis 1 to new creation in Revelation 21 and 22, or from the flood, say, with Noah, to the baptism of Jesus, or just little things that rhyme between testaments. And so then we would invite people to kind of sign their name and make a little note on our actual church wall in each of those 6 icons, depending on where they felt like the most resonance or the most connection. And of course, they did it, and it was very meaningful for a lot of people. Communion is something kinesthetic. Baptism is something kinesthetic. Coming up to the front of the church for prayer, like they do in Pentecostal charismatic traditions, is something kinesthetic. Of course, clapping and singing are a little bit, but they also kind of feel like, not really, because most people don't clap or sing, but we wish they did. The point is that we can do more there, and we should.